How are you? And today it's Japanese. We're going to continue our discussion of cooking with wine and cook some Japanese dishes. Now, if you're up on Japanese history, you know that historically the Japanese have never made what we call wine. The term wine always implies grapes. Wine and vine, right? So there's no such thing as apricot wine. The Chinese make wines out of rice. That can't be called wine. Or you certainly can't call the plum wine, very delicious by the way, that is being made in Japan now, a legitimate wine because it doesn't come from a vine. However, they have traditionally made a wonderfully brewed and aged sake, which is made from rice, just straight rice, and it's delicious stuff and it's wonderful for cooking. You cannot cook good Japanese food without something called sake. You can buy it in any, well, most of the liquor stores all over the country. And when it's served at the table, when you're not cooking with it, you put a bit in a sake server, you see, and you put it in a little tub of hot water. Here we are. Now I'll serve one of these for you. You put it on the table, and everyone has their own little cup, and it is considered very rude if you should ever reach for the sake cup, because I'm not supposed to pour for myself. You shouldn't do that. What you should do is to wait until the person next to you realizes that your cup is empty, and then they are to pour for you, and it goes from the right to the right to the right to the right to the right. And that's the first thing we should know today about Japanese cuisine. Everyone at the table is supposed to take care of everyone else. It's very communal, it's very aesthetic, it's very beautiful, it's very carefully prepared, and it's just wonderful food. So cooking with wine, which isn't wine, you got the point, right? It's rice wine, but you shouldn't call it wine, but I have no other name for it, and it's called sake, and we're going to cook with it now. The most famous dish to come out of Japan ever in the last 200 years, of course, is sukiyaki, but I did that for you in an earlier show. So today we're going to make a couple of teriyaki dishes. Teriyaki is very, very simple. It's simply good chicken. Grab a whole chicken here. I'll give you our family favorite. This one's easy to do, and you can prepare it in nothing flat. You can come home from work and have Japanese teriyaki chicken on the table in nothing flat. Now we want some soy sauce, and I'm using Kikkoman. Did you know that this is one of the largest corporations in the world, Kikkoman? I was shocked when I heard that. It's a big Japanese soy sauce factory. Wonderful stuff. Japanese soy sauce has a lot of wheat in it. So it has a very sweet and heavy flavor. Delicious. Chinese soy sauce, on the other hand, is generally a little bit lighter. They don't put as much wheat in it. I didn't tell you when we did the Chinese show that you should look for Sang and Ma. Sang, T-S-A-N-G, Sang and Ma, M-A. Sang and Ma light soy sauce from China, not Japan, China, for the Chinese cooking. For Japanese cooking, don't use Chinese soy sauce. It doesn't pack it. You need that wheaty flavor that you will find. Wheaty flavor? That's all right. The wheaty flavor that you'll find for good dishes like this. A wonderful chicken teriyaki. All right, now then, we want a little bit of sugar, about, I would say maybe an eighth of a cup, huh? Something like that. That's enough. My wife doesn't like this much sugar, but that's her problem because I love it this way. And some ginger. And ginger, of course, comes by the hand. Please don't buy. This is called a hand, you see? Well, you can see the similarity. It has fingers. Actually, I broke 2 fingers off this morning. That's all right. When you cook with Oriental recipes, please remember that if it calls for ginger, it does not have anything to do with that dried, powdery stuff that lacks flavor that's sitting in your cupboard. It's been there since 1936. And don't lie to me. I know it has. Buy fresh ginger in any supermarket. All right, just about a half a teaspoon of ginger. And now the sake. I want a bit of, about 3 tablespoons. That's just about right. I'm going to get my pan going here. And we're going to pan fry that very lightly with a lid on it for, about 20, 30 minutes. I have the fryer all cut up. Soy, sugar, ginger, sake, and now the clincher. You cannot make a good teriyaki without garlic. the Chinese and the Japanese both love garlic. And I will admit that the Japanese cuisine is a little more subtle. But garlic is very important. So we'll put in a couple cloves of garlic, and we'll be ready to go. Maybe one was enough for one chicken. It's much lighter than Chinese cuisine would be, you see. Alrighty. And we'll blend that, or mix that into our teriyaki chicken. Then I'm going to give you another recipe for the same dish, because I want you to understand that there are several different ways to do this. I know that if you really are a Japanese American, you're sitting at home pushing your friend in the ribs saying, that isn't how Grandma made it, or that's not how such and such made it. And I know, there are lots of variations. Now, a little bit of oil in the pan, very, very little bit of peanut oil, and we're going to gently saute this. Now watch this. I'm going to put the sauce in and everything. You see? The whole works goes in the pan. And then we will, there, that'll go. We'll cover that and cook it for, half an hour, I think. And you want to be sure and turn it once or twice during the process. Be sure and cover it. I'm going to snitch another cover here because I have one already done for you. Cover this and cook it for about 20 or 30 minutes until it's very, very tender, but not mushy. Please don't do that. Don't overcook chicken. It's just a terrible thought. Let me, I have one already prepared for you, and we'll take it out now. Teriyaki chicken. It's very, very simple. You see, that was the whole dish. You don't marinate it, you don't do a thing, but it cooks in the marinade, in this case. And when it comes to the table, why, it's very, very moist, very delicious, and the sauce is wonderful with rice, just wonderful with rice. I didn't even make any rice for you today, and I should. You know, that's a basic staple in the Orient, and certainly in Japan. Come out of there. Why? Too much work. There we are. Now that isn't garnished properly yet, but we'll get around to that sort of thing as we put it out. Now our first dish today, let me turn off the other one. We won't need that. Let's try this one. I'm not going to put out a French towel, for heaven's sakes, when I'm trying to display a Japanese dish. And if you are Japanese, you'll say, well, it must be garnished with some sliced onions, and they'll spend hours carving a little bitty carrot to make it really look attractive. The Japanese claim that food should feast the eyes as well as the stomach. Today I'm concerned with just the stomach. So I'm sorry. This isn't garnished for you properly, but it's a very good dish, and I want you to prepare it for your family. It's very delicious. All right, well, we can put a little leaf on it or something, anything for green in color. Teriyaki number 1. Teriyaki number 2 is even simpler. Let me show you how it goes. I shouldn't throw the sauce away. Remember I said this is great on rice? Save it. You can cook with it again. It'll be much lighter next time, or you can put it over rice some afternoon for a quick cold lunch. It's very delicious. All right, secondly, another bowl, another chicken, and another recipe. This is chicken teriyaki number 2, and I owe this to a marvelous Japanese gentleman, Mr. Niwa, the Reverend Mr. Niwa, who taught me to do this when I was in college years ago. He was teaching Japanese at our university. Wonderful man, and he did something that's very different, and I'll show you what it is. Where's the soy sauce? Here we are, 1 whole chicken, 1/2 cup of Kikkoman soy sauce, or some other Japanese soy sauce if you prefer, but I like this one. And now here's the clincher, 2/3 of a cup of Karo syrup instead of white Karo syrup, you see? This is a corn syrup. And he used this to give his chicken a lovely glow, and then he would broil it. It's marvelous. And he put in a little bit more garlic than I did in the first one, so we'll put in 2 cloves this time. If you've never tried a Japanese sushi bar, I feel sorry for you. You must go. There's one in my city, in Tacoma, Washington, run by a marvelous fellow by the name of Endo. And he's an award-winning sushi maker. And please, sushi is not just raw fish. It's all sorts of wonderful things rolled up in creative little rice balls. And the reason they go to all that work is because of the proverb I just gave you. Food is to feast the eyes as well as the stomach. So they'll go to great lengths to make beautiful things to eat. And it's wonderful. Endo's terrific. There's a guy in New York that's awfully good, too. Several of those. Okay, I want to add, after my Karo syrup, the garlic and the soy, I want to add a little bit of sake, about 3 tablespoons. Bloop, that's enough. And, of course, some ginger. And the ginger, 1/2 teaspoon will be plenty for you. Just pick out a finger and grind it down. Isn't that horrible talk? See, you call this a finger, right? Little finger of ginger. You see how it goes? And you just grind it on down. That's plenty. 1/2 teaspoon is fine. Okay, that's the recipe. Now we're going to mix that up and put it on a broiling rack. And broil it in the oven for, probably, be sure and mix as well, because the syrup, you see, will we'll need to marinate the, soak into the chicken, make it very sweet. Soak this for about an hour before you cook it. You want to marinate this for a bit. You don't marinate the first one. But this one, Mr. Niwa always marinated his. Marinate simply means to let it soak in the sauce for a while, okay? We'll do that. And then arrange it on a baking sheet, or better yet, on a rack. A roasting rack, or grilling rack, broiling rack. I have one all done for you. Ouch. Isn't that clever? I even put a pad. Okay. Now those look a little brown too, but he always made his very brown and toasty. So I'm going to serve it in exactly that manner. It's a delicious dish. It's warm, so the wing, everything's cut just so. And he would, of course, garnish this with some little thinly sliced carrots, perhaps. This one is much sweeter, and you notice there's no sauce on this, you see. The sauce has all been absorbed by the chicken during the cooking process. So you have chicken teriyaki number 2. And this recipe, again, is in our cookbook on cooking with wine. There. Thirdly, let me get rid of all this. We're having some... Okay. Every time we're together, it's the same problem, isn't it? The kitchen's a mess, and when I go out on the road and I meet you, you say, how do you keep organized? Who cleans up? And I just tell you the truth. I don't keep organized, and nobody cleans up. No, that's not true. I want to do a pork tenkatsu. I just put out my fire here. Pork tenkatsu is, pork is common in China. And it's very common in Japan because it's a very efficient little animal. The old piggy will pretty much take care of himself, and he'll eat almost anything. So he's always been popular in the Orient, you see. And let me show you what to do now to make a pork tenkatsu, which is well, I'll show you. First of all, you want a very thin fillet of pork. This is really pork roast. So it's not expensive. This is Jason's favorite Japanese dish. He just loves it. And Endo makes this, to my desire and to my son's desire, so I figure the guy's a genius. We have 2 slices. Well, I thought that was 2 slices. Nope, that's 1 slice. It's awfully thick. Here we are. Slice of pork. I'm going to do several slices, and I'm putting them between, thank you, plate. I'm putting them between an 8-millimeter thick sheet of vinyl that you can find in any hardware store, so that when you pound them, to thin them, and you make them thin, you see, you don't tear up the meat. Look at how easy that is. You see? That's going to come off. There we are. Be careful. When you're doing this, be careful that you don't have a loose handle. See? Like this. I just realized it was about to fly off and hit you in the head. That's not good. So you be careful when you're doing this. Keep the kids at bay and go from there. All right. Now, to make our pork tenkatsu, we want to marinate several of these steaks, and I have some right here, in a very light and interesting marinade. I'll give you the recipe here. First of all, we'll get the steaks into the pan. I'll do 3 or 4 of these, I think. And then we're going to fry them in peanut oil with a marvelous coating called panko, which is simply breadcrumbs. But when the Japanese make them, I can't do this. I've tried, I've experimented. The only way I can tell you to do this dish is to go buy the right breadcrumbs. They're dehydrated in some wonderful way that only the Japanese can do, and the dish is incredible. So, to marinate the meat, first of all, we're going to add about 4 tablespoons of soy to, we've got a little over a pound of meat, about 4 tablespoons of soy, about 4 tablespoons of sake. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's perfect. A little bit of garlic, maybe 1 clove would be plenty. And then we're going to add some black pepper, and that's the marinade. Now let that sit for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. I'm not going to do that, of course, today because we don't have time for that. Nothing new, huh? But some good black pepper. And please remember, there is no such thing as pre-cracked pepper. That is a plot to take over the government of the United States or some crazy thing. You crack it fresh, a little bit of pepper, marinate that for a time, and then we will prepare the dip. And the dip, watching my fat here, I don't want to be too hot. Yes. Okay, we're all right. Now, the dip that we're going to use here is simple. We're going to whip up an egg, 1 egg beaten, and we're going to add to that 1 green onion chopped up. Keep those fingers bent under. I don't have to tell you again. There it is. And to that, we're going to stir that up a bit. I should have cut those a little bit smaller, I think, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, that'll do fine. Now, we have some panko, and let me show you what panko is, because it just makes the dish. You've got to have it. You can find these things in any Oriental market in your city. If you're in a large city, you'll have no difficulty. If you're out in the outskirts of cities, why make a trip and buy all your Chinese and Japanese groceries at once. Panko is a dehydrated, I don't know exactly what they do to this, but it is a breadcrumb. But you see, it's flaky. I'm sorry that the label is all, let's see, I better hold it properly in case you can, there you go, in case you can read Japanese. It says panko, you see? That says, I swear to God, it says panko, all right? In any case, you want to place the pieces of meat now, first of all in the egg and green onion. Very, very simple. Then dip them into the panko, and I like to press them in. Turn it over a couple times. You press it right in there. Then again, press it in, and then again, and then you slip that into hot peanut oil. Please don't use any other kind of fat. Slip it right into hot peanut oil. And while that's cooking, we'll do another. Oh, Jason, if you're watching right now, I know what you're saying. You're thinking, quick, Dad, I'm sorry you're not here, son. This is a great dish. I know you love it. Panko! It's not panko. Stop that. This is not junior high school beef, pork. It's not panko beef. It's panko. I don't think we need another one. Two are fine. We'll get rid of that. You understand the nature of the dish? Cook that for just a few minutes. Very quickly done. And be sure that when you use your hands near a pot of boiling oil, for heaven's sakes, be sure your hands are dry before you go near that fat. I have about 4 cups of fat in the pan. The fat's at about 375. It'll take just a moment to cook them. But if I get near that with a single drop of water, it's going to explode. Water immediately turns to vapor when it hits hot oil, you see? And it'll just explode all over the place. I'll look very funny like Vincent Price in that, what was that horrible movie, The Wax Museum or something? Don't do that. Don't do that. Please. It's not worth it. I have a Chinese dish that I'm going to put this on rather than the Japanese dish. I think they're almost done. Let me check them out here. Well, one is finished. I can see that. You don't want to overcook these. Let me drain these on paper towels. We don't want the fat. You really don't need the fat. So let's, I'll take them out of the pan and put them on paper towels first. You see, they're done immediately. You don't want it to be dry, so hurry, Smith, hurry. All right, all right. Here we go. Here we go. Now, take him out and drain him right away. There. Now you can do several of these, of course, and keep them in the oven for a few minutes to keep them hot before you serve the whole table. But let me show you how the meal goes. There is a sauce, and I can't give you the recipe for this. It's kind of like a Japanese English steak sauce, and it's called tenkatsu sosu. How's my Japanese? It wasn't even close, was it? Tenkatsu sosu. Here it is. And you simply put a bit of this on the side of the plate, and you enjoy pork tenkatsu with the sauce, and perhaps a garnish of, let me make a quick garnish here of onion for you. There, we don't want this to look too crude after all. There we are, a little bit of onion to give it a little bit of class. After all, it is Japanese, and that means that you mustn't do the thing loosely, because when you come to the table, the feast should be light and lovely and attractive to the eye. So we'll do that now. Then I have one more for you that I must tell you about, and it's a quick way to do vegetables, and it's a lovely spinach dish. Oh, I want to do a chicken. I've got one more chicken dish in here for you. Where did he go? Before we may bag the spinach. I've got a blessing between two cultures, China and Japan. Here, this is the one I want you to see. I was lying about the spinach. We may get to it, we may not. We may not at all. I cook like this in my own house, too. I always cook more than I can possibly consume, and that means that biblically, you see, you're doing the right thing with food. It means that no matter who drops by, you're going to have enough food to feed half the neighborhood. I learned that from my Norwegian mother. She's 73 now, and whenever we drop by, there are 4 of us in our family, we can stop by her house and still have extra food on the table when she didn't even know we were coming. That's a good way to cook, if you can afford it. All right. In this pan, I have, let me give you the recipe here, I have marinated these chicken thighs in a bit of light miso. And miso is a very wonderful sauce that is made from fermented soybean paste. You can find this in any Japanese market. It makes a classic miso soup. I know it looks strange. Calm down. But it's a wonderful thing to have. And you'd really enjoy it. It gives it every dish in Japan that has miso in it is very recognizable because the flavor is so distinct and so beautiful, and it's so very Japanese. You can't cook without the stuff. I've marinated the chicken thighs in a bit of soy sauce, some miso, some green onions, a bit of ginger, and then I've simmered them for a time till they're just about tender. You can marinate them overnight if you want the flavor to be sharp, and I think you should. Now watch this. Are you ready? Because this is the fun part. After you marinate them overnight, you brown them in a little bit of peanut oil, and then add a shot of white wine, or sake if you prefer. There we go. And catch this now, some grapes. And it is called jade chicken because the grapes look like jade. And in the Orient, you see, isn't this beautiful? In the Orient, grapes are jade, not grapes. Jade is prized as a great protector. I wear a jade fish all the time. You've seen me with this on. And it is a great protector. I'm in one piece, and I'm thankful. Heat this up again just long enough now to I've already browned the chicken, you see. I've cooked the chicken completely. That was about half an hour. Marinated overnight in the sauce that I gave you of the light miso, the green onions, the ginger. And then eventually I threw it into a pan and browned them, added some white wine, and then the grapes. And that's just about hot enough to serve, I think. Let me just check it. Put your finger right in there. It's just fine. It's just ready. Okay, we'll serve that now. Let's see, what plate shall I put that one on? Well, we'll try this one. There we are. Turn down the heat so that I don't burn myself. A lot of you have written me and asked me about cooking with gas over against cooking with electricity. I have no qualms with cooking with electricity. It's all right with me. But it's just that when I'm on the air, I can't, when we're together, I can't take the time that electricity takes to heat up. So I have to have heat that's instantaneous. That's why we don't have electricity. Now you're going to say, well, then that's the kind of thing I want for my kitchen. I agree. I think you should have gas if you can possibly bring it in, because it's immediate. Now the dish isn't attractive yet, but wait till I put the grapes on. Watch this one. What will we use here for the grape taker-outer, huh? All right. There. Look at the grapes now. See, the grapes are just hot enough. You don't want to cook them. You just want to bring them up to heat. There we go. And try to roll them all over the kitchen floor like I'm doing now. That will add to the color of the dish. Come here. That'll add to the color of the dish and the color of the whole moment. There we are. Okay. This dish is truly delicious and very unusual and very colorful because you're serving grapes with the chicken, and it's called jade chicken for that very reason. The Chinese have a dish they call jade belt chicken, and they put a bit of a green onion tied around a chicken thigh and cook it, and it's called a jade belt. You see, the green, light green in the Orient is a sign of great wealth and happiness and prosperity, all that sort of thing. All right, let's do some more with vegetables. Now we're going to try and get to that spinach dish I'm telling you about. But I really wanted you to see the jade instead. I'm going to toast some sesame seeds in preparation for sesame spinach. And I'm simply going to put a handful of sesame seeds into the wok. The wok's getting hot now, and we'll toast them. And obviously I'm not going to have enough time to toast them as long as I should, so you're going to have to bear with me here for a minute. We'll toast those until they begin to pop. Once they begin to jump around in the pan, you know they're finished. It just takes a minute or so. Then we're going to remove them from the pan, from the wok, and put them in this is a marvelous device. I don't know the Japanese name, I'm sorry. But this is used for grinding sesame seeds. Now while those cool, I'm going to get the, you'll want to toast yours longer than that. You want to toast yours until they begin to pop and snap. Like Rice Krispies, that's the name I wanted. When you let those cool for a bit, and then we're ready to cook the spinach itself. And what I want is a big pile of spinach, good 10-ounce bunch, you see. We can put a little bit of peanut oil in our wok. The wok's very hot, so this is going to cook in a hurry. We don't want this to be slow. I don't like overcooked spinach. I don't like overcooked anything, ever. That's not what you need. Okay. There we go. In goes the spinach now. We'll just throw it right into the hot oil, and we'll let it collapse. And this will happen in a hurry. You notice I've left, the only water I put in the wok now is the is the water that was clinging to the spinach. See, it's going to work fine. It'll collapse in just a minute here. And in the meantime, let's go to our sesame seeds. We're going to grind these down in this marvelous grinder. See, it has little ridges and a wooden stick. It's just a kick. Whoops, well, that's all right. And we'll add to that a bit of miso again, the light miso I told you about. A little bit of miso, oh, big fat tablespoon perhaps, and a pinch of sugar. Where's my sugar? Well, it's here somewhere. We'll find it. Here we go. About a half teaspoon of sugar. There we go. That'll do us. And we're going to add a bit of white wine or sake or whatever you'd like to break this down. And stir that in. And this will go into our spinach as it's collapsing. And it'll give it a wonderful sesame flavor. That's nothing but peanut oil for the spinach. And then, of course, the sesame seed we've toasted. A little bit of light miso, a shot of sugar. A little bit of sake or white wine. Into the pot we go. And we'll cook this down. And serve it because it's delicious. It can be served cold as a pickle. Or it can be served hot as a wonderful vegetable from Japan with a little bit of wine called sake. And that's what's behind our cooking today with wine on the Frugal Gourmet. Until I see you again, this is the Frugal Gourmet. Arigatou gozaimasu. I bid you peace. Bye-bye.